Upgrade, a 2018 film written and directed by Leigh Whannell, the writer of the first Saw movie, finally was ported and released to 4K this week. This is the very first time that I ever watched this movie at all. Does it live up to the hype? Does the 4K actually make it feel alive? Does it present itself in a 4K new 2023 immersion? Let's find out. What if you hate automated technology, but then some point in your life, you're forced to use automated technology to live? That is the big question that Leigh Whannell wrote for the film Upgrade. Now, Upgrade stars Logan Marshall Green, and the plot of it is basically he and his wife are rich because she works for a company basically like Tesla. She owns a fully automated car at the very beginning, and at the very beginning, he's a mechanic, and they meet up with, I guess, a buyer for his products and cars. And right after that, her car malfunctions, it crashes with them inside, and then they get ransacked and attacked by random people. And then throughout the film, Logan Marshall Green's character is a complete quadriplegic until his friend, who is a genius, provides him with the abilities to live again physically through robot technology within his body. And along the way afterwards, the robot within him starts talking to him, and basically he goes on a violent killing spree for all of the people that were involved in his wife's death. Now, the story of this film is very, very riveting. I thought this was an excellently written film. I thought it was extremely well directed, especially the action sequences. For a film that's from the writer of the first Saw movie, and seeing the ratings being strong violence, grisly images, I honestly expected this movie to be just like gore-tastic all over. Fortunately, it was not. There are grisly images, but when they show up on screen, they happen like that, and then they get taken off the screen. That's one thing I really commend these filmmakers for. They didn't go full all out, hey, look at all of this blood and gore. I appreciate that immensely for the direction of this film. Now, the story and the direction of this film, again, written and directed by Leigh Whannell, the writer of the first Saw movie, and I believe a lot of the other Saw movies. He also wrote Insidious, I believe. I think Leigh Whannell is a really good writer when he's not focusing on gore. And Upgrade is absolutely no exception. Upgrade is a fan-fucking-tastic film. The story of Upgrade is phenomenal. Now, there are some parts in the story that are cheap and cliche, but it's more so in written dialogue sequences than anything else. But there's like one or two of those scenes in this film. This is a brisk 1.5 hour film. It is directly straight through, and it tells you everything about the main story. They don't fuck around. You go through the main story, and then it ends. And I loved this film's story. I loved everything about the film's story. I loved all of the plot twists. I loved the writing of this film. I loved the action sequences in this film. The action sequences in this film, even the violent sequences, they are the best directed sequences in this entire film. Just because, especially the first scene of violence, after he gets his powers and abilities from getting a robot implanted into him, and he is a mechanic. He doesn't fight. He's never killed anything. So the first action sequence after he gets his body back, just living that whole entire experience of a man that knows nothing about fighting or violence, and then turning to his robotic companion to do all of it for him right in front of him. He has to witness the death of this person, and then he ends the fight by puking in the closest sink. That is such a mesmerizing scene. I love that scene in this fucking film. Hands down, that is one of the all-time greatest scenes in a film I've ever experienced. Seriously, I love that one action sequence because it just tells you, it shows you how human that person still is. It shows you that he's human enough to want to take a life, but he's also human enough to not be able to take a life, and so therefore he lets technology do it for him. And I love the overarching aspect of what if technology rules over everything and you don't like it, and then you're forced to live with it. I love that aspect of this story. This story was completely top-notch. The performances in this film are top-notch, especially Logan Marshall Green. He does an excellent job as the main actor, the main character. He really makes you feel compelled to liking this person, this quadriplegic, or even his regular mechanic character beforehand. You honestly feel for this guy. You feel his pain. You feel that he doesn't feel until he gets the feeling again. And I love all of the plot twists written in this story. I love the story. I love Upgrade. Leigh Whannell is a terrific writer and especially a terrific director. I don't really have many gripes with the story of Upgrade or even the performances. Everything is phenomenal. Set aside a couple cliches within the whole futuristic sci-fi stuff, but that's like one or two scenes in an hour and a half of a movie. This is an excellent story with excellent performances and excellent writing. The 4K visuals and audio for Upgrade are honestly an upgrade, and I never even watched the original film before it made its 4K release, but I could tell the difference because I have a huge HDR-enabled 4K TV. I have a PS5. I have everything necessary to watch everything in full 4K capabilities. And Upgrade, let's be honest, the absolute only thing that I didn't like about the visuals and audio with Upgrade is that it was widescreen. When you have a giant TV, my personal philosophy when it comes to filmmaking is the only genre of movies that should be filmed in widescreen are horror-based. That's how I believe. I believe everything else, comedies, action, everything should be full screen with IMAX cameras. That's how I firmly believe because, take for example, Ryan Reynolds' Buried movie years and years ago, where that was shot with widescreen cameras and it fit perfectly for the story that it was telling. He was confined in a casket underground and it made you feel claustrophobic. Now, Upgrade it kind of has horror elements in the visuals, but this isn't a horror film, it's an action sci-fi. And while the widescreen does fine for the film itself, I personally would have rather watched it in full screen with IMAX cameras, much like Zack Snyder does for his films and Christopher Nolan, because action films, sci-fi films, I feel like you should feel immersed and not have to watch something in even smaller images than what you're expecting to watch in. Like, for example, if you have a 65-inch TV, you'd like to watch the whole thing in 65 inches, unless it's a horror film, and then it would present itself in more of a horror aspect. Otherwise, that's all I have to say bad about the visuals and audio of Upgrade. Everything else is phenomenal, and even then, that's just a personal preference. You don't have to agree with that, and that's perfectly fine. Upgrade's visuals and audio are superb on 4K. I had no complaints. You could see every black level, because this is a damn near pitch black movie. But if you watch this in 4K, you can experience every kind of color level in this film. You can feel and hear everything happening. This is a one-of-a-kind 4K treatment. I definitely appreciated watching this for the first time ever in 4K. Overall, for me, Upgrade in 4K is a wonderful experience. I really, truly love this film. I love the visuals. I love the audio. The story was top-notch. The performances were top-notch. The direction was a lot better than the writing. Even though the writing was top-notch, the direction didn't really have any flaws anywhere. I loved how Leigh Whannell directed this film. But I also love the writing. I love the story. I love the performances. Everything about this film is top-notch. Set aside personal preferences in the video quality. So overall for me, set aside that and some cliche written scenes of dialogue, Upgrade is a very solid 9 out of 10 on 4K, and you absolutely must experience or re-experience this film in 4K. This is a phenomenal film through and through, especially on 4K. So 9 out of 10, Upgrade in 4K. Thank you.